Welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you for being here. Please make sure that you are subscribed to World Affairs in Context on Substack and on Patreon for more and exclusive content. I would absolutely love to see you there. Follow the links in the video description below to get connected. Volkswagen is scrapping plans for a US Audi factory unless Trump's tariffs are reduced. Clearly, this is more than a corporate bargaining move. This is a snapshot of how global industrial strategy, trade politics, and the car industry's transition are actually colliding in real time, and how Trump's protectionism backfires. For several years, you may recall this, Audi has been weighing the idea of manufacturing in the United States. Back in 2023, the logic seemed very straightforward actually. Washington was offering subsidies for them to move production here. Demand for premium vehicles remained very strong, and building locally actually would shield the brand from currency swings and trade friction. So at that point, the United States looked like a growth market where a new factory could pay for itself over time. It just looked like a great idea. Well, that calculus has now changed dramatically. According to Volkswagen CEO Oliver Blume, tariffs imposed by the Trump administration on European automakers have already cost the group 2.1 billion with a B, 2.1 billion euros in just the first 9 months of 2025. These costs are direct hits to margins, to the profits, to cash flow, and to investment capacity, because otherwise they would have more funds to reinvest back in production. Well, now they actually have to pay tariffs. And so Bloom's message was very clear. If tariffs remain unchanged, large additional investments like a new Audi plant in the United States simply cannot be funded. Now, think about other manufacturers as well. They are silent. We don't really hear much about it, but we have seen the result of their hesitation and the challenges that they're facing. We have not seen a boom in manufacturing across the United States recently. No, we have not. In fact, US manufacturing is weakening. The United States is deindustrialized. Its financial sector has been the main driver. So pretending that we will industrialize by imposing tariffs on foreign companies is very clearly naive at best. For the German automaker, tariffs are a major obstacle, and this puts Volkswagen in a bind. On the one hand, the US remains strategically important. It is a great market, potentially, but on the other hand, the business case for manufacturing in the United States has been undermined by policy decisions. This is all about policy decisions that add uncertainty and add additional costs. Remember, businesses cannot function in a constant state of uncertainty and volatility. Bloom actually framed the issue in very, very clear terms, in my opinion. He stated that what the economy needs now is short-term cost relief and long-term reliability. Well, we don't have neither one of those two things. Without such predictable conditions, committing billions to a new factory becomes a gamble rather than a strategy. Businesses are not going to do it. And so the consequences are already visible in Volkswagen's expectations for the American market. An earlier ambition to reach a 10% market share has been shelved. Instead, management is now talking about incremental progress. And what's incremental progress? This is just a way to say that they don't really expect this to be profitable. They don't expect a success. That shift in language does matter. It signals that Volkswagen no longer sees the United States as a place for rapid expansion, as a place for growth and investment, but rather they see it as a market where the company must carefully manage exposure and risk. This more cautious stance fits into a broader retrenchment underway across the group. Volkswagen is in the middle of its 5-year planning round, and the numbers tell a very clear story. Planned spending has been reduced to 160 billion euros, which is down from 180 billion euros just 2 years ago. That 20 billion euro gap reflects tougher conditions across the industry. And by those tougher conditions, I mean weaker demand in some regions, rising costs, geopolitical friction, and the expansive transition to EVs and software-driven vehicles. The full plan will be unveiled in March alongside Volkswagen's annual financial results, and I'm very curious to see that because Volkswagen is one of the biggest companies in Europe, and it has been for generations. But pieces of the strategy are already emerging. One of the most symbolic is the transformation of the transparent factory in Dresden. It was opened in 2001, and it is famous for its glass walls and public-facing production, and I will include some pictures if I can find them for you. Now, vehicle production there is ending entirely. It functioned for 20 years. Now Volkswagen is closing that factory. By the end of this year, the factory will no longer build cars. And that marks the first plant closure in Germany in Volkswagen's history, in 8 decades, actually. So from a strategic standpoint, the shift makes sense. But economically and politically, the move is very, very painful. On top of that, Volkswagen plans to reduce technical production capacity across Germany by more than 730,000 vehicles. Think about that, 730,000 vehicles per year by 2028. And also, in addition to that reduced capacity, the company is cutting 35,000 jobs by 2030. Volkswagen brand CEO Thomas Schäfer described the decision to end production at Dresden as absolutely necessary from an economic perspective. And so that tells you a lot. It tells you that the company is cutting costs where it can. The necessity is, of course, underlined by the company's recent financial performance. In July of 2025, Volkswagen reported a 33% decline in operating income. It is a very, very significant decline in its operating income for the first half of 2025. Among the key reasons that they cited were higher costs from increased U.S. import tariffs, and the cost actually totaled roughly $1.5 billion. Now, as of the time of me recording the video, the year-end December 31st, 2025 data is not available yet. It will be released in an annual report at a later time. So we don't really know what their operating income is going to be. Of course, there have been press releases, and so we may get a rough idea, but I am going to use official data that has been published by the company right now. So this is where the United States tariff issues actually loop back into Volkswagen's global restructuring. Higher tariffs imposed by the Trump administration don't just affect cars that are sold in America. They ripple through investment plans, through employment decisions, layoffs, of course, are part of that, and through long-term capacity planning in Europe and in the United States. Money spent absorbing tariff costs is money not spent on factories, on research and development, and on workforce stability. Adding another layer of complexity is Volkswagen's growing concern over semiconductors. The company has recently dipped into its chip reserve stockpiles. This was, of course, due to a power struggle that involved a supplier in Xperia. I have an entire video on this over on my channel. And that company is a Netherlands-based firm that is owned by China's Wingtech technology. Chips remain a strategic vulnerability for the entire auto industry at this time, and geopolitical tensions around technology supply chains are only increasing. Taken together, these developments that I just walked you through paint a picture of an automaker under a lot of pressure from multiple directions, as you can tell. And Volkswagen is just one of many, many companies that face these challenges at the moment. Trade policy is raising costs, and the CEO of Volkswagen stated that very, very bluntly. Industrial policy is actually pushing companies to localize production, but without guaranteeing favorable conditions. And so technological dependencies, especially in semiconductors, are also forcing companies to rethink, to readjust how and where they invest. And so the United States just doesn't appear to be one of those countries where European manufacturers are going to move into. It's not profitable, and they can't afford to lose more cash. For the United States, Volkswagen's warning should be read very carefully, in my opinion. Tariffs that are designed to protect domestic industry are, in fact, discouraging foreign investment. Even investment from companies that were already considering and quite committed to building plants on American soil in the United States. An Audi factory would have meant jobs here in the United States. It would have improved local supply chains and long-term industrial presence. But instead, that investment is lost. Volkswagen has made its position very clear at this time. The risks outweigh the rewards. And without a doubt, many companies agree with that. Thank you very much for watching. Leave me a comment below. Let me know what your thoughts are on this topic. I would love to hear from you. Support my work if you haven't already. I appreciate every single one of you who has become a paid subscriber. Thank you so much. I appreciate every single one of you. Like, subscribe, and share, and I look forward to seeing you here tomorrow. Bye for now.